Can you dig it, sucker?
You're listening to the Hall of Fame. Here's Booker T and Brad Gilmore.
Welcome inside the Hall of Fame. I'm Booker T, six-time world champ, two-time Hall of Famer. Got my man Brad Gilmore here with me as always, man. And we getting ready to do this thing coming to you from ESPN 975-925. And I tell you, man, I woke up this morning. In a good mood. I actually did the Twitch thing from 9:30 to 10:30. Got a chance to play a little tennis. Won the first tournament, lost the second tournament, but that's the name of the game, man. You can't win them all. But I'm up, man. That's gonna be going down, guys, every Monday and every Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. Central Time. If you guys want to, join in on the game, I'm finna start playing online too as well. So if you guys want to jump in and play, your boy around the tennis, I'm always in for that. You know what I'm saying? So definitely, what up, bro? How you doing?
Hey, Book, I'm doing good. Here we are. We are just 24 hours, a little more than before your NXT debut. You've never been on NXT, right? Ever, right?
No, I've never been on NXT at all. This is my first time. Actually, I went down for a show, but it was a house show once back in Punt. It was a Punta Gorda, Florida. That was about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, something, maybe 5 years, maybe a little bit longer. I'm happy to actually get a chance to get my feet wet and go down and see exactly what kind of talent that we're producing in that NXT brand, because that's what I'm there for, man. I'm there to evaluate the talent, see exactly where these guys are as far as their learning curve, be able to spot the guy that I feel like that has star potential. I'm talking about like right now that may be ready to, make that big move. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited, as well as I'm calling out all bums, like Muhammad Ali would say back in the day. I'm calling out all bums. You know what I mean? So if your game is not tight, you know it, and it kicks off, like you said, in about 36 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it because I like NXT and I like a lot of the people on there. But I know that you're going to come correct. You're going to let people know what time it is if they need to be told what time it is. You're not going to pull any punches.
No, I'm not. And the thing is, it's just like right now, the Grayson Wallers of the world, and, the pretty deadly, the Braun Breakers of that game. I know who those guys are because they stand out. They do something a little bit different. I'm talking about the guys. Let me put my boy Carmelo Hayes in there as well as Trick Williams. Just that name right there, you got to wonder who the hell is this guy. But my thing is, those guys stand out a little
Right.
bit more so than most. So I'm looking to figure out, who may be that X factor that we haven't actually been paying a whole lot of attention to, like the Wendy Chus of the world. That I don't know if you've seen Wendy Chu, but
I've seen Wendy Chu.
she's different. But so I'm excited more so than anything.
Wendy Chu, Chase U is one I want to see.
Chase U is he's definitely he's talent. He's definitely talent. So that's what I'm talking about, man. Being able to get my hands on and spot the upside as well as what this kid perhaps needs to be working on. Oh man, that was a mistake that should not have happened. These guys need to start thinking 2, 3, perhaps 4 steps ahead. That's what I'm talking about. Trying to make these guys the ultimate superstars.
Well, and again, we've talked about it before, but on NXT, especially when it went to 2.0, and now I know it's just called NXT again, but the some of the talent had only had a handful of matches before they even went on television, right? I mean, I think Lash Legend may have had her first match on TV, or maybe I read that wrong, but it was one of her first matches was on television. I mean, I can't imagine working under that kind of pressure. But how long did you work before you were on television? It wasn't long, right?
No, it was about 3 months.
Wow.
3 months, and I was doing Houston Wrestling Live here at the Sam Houston Coliseum for the wrestling company that I went to. They started a television company immediately when we graduated, and it was like crazy, you know what I mean? So I got thrown right into the fire, and it was awesome, man. It was awesome because I got a chance to be in the building with guys, such names as Ox Baker. I got a chance to sit in the locker room with Ox Baker. And Ox Baker, man, he told me something that will last with me forever throughout my life. He pulled me aside and he gave me a talking to because I was like one of the greenest kids at that Sam Houston Coliseum, but the fans still wanted to see GI, bro, right? They wanted to see me go out and perform. I had like banners everywhere around that freaking place. And Ox Baker, he pulled me to the side. He said, "Hey, kid, I just want to let you know, kid, you got a lot of talent. You can make a lot of money in this business." He said, "But I want you to know that you're gonna come up against a whole lot of obstacles." Okay. He didn't say what those obstacles were or anything like that. I kind of knew where he was going. He said, "You're gonna come up against a lot of obstacles," but he said, "But I think you talented enough to figure out how to go over, around, under." He said, "But sometimes you got to go straight through it, kid." And I go, wow. I remember that. I got goosebumps just thinking about that right there. And that may be where that 99, 100% thing come into play. But Ox Baker, he was the one that gave me that knowledge when I first got in the game. And like I said, I was a green kid, man. And I took that advice and I locked it in. I was one of those guys that knew when I was getting good advice from somebody. And that was perhaps the best advice I could have gotten from an OG veteran like Ox Baker.
Yeah. So, I mean, and you have that opportunity to be the Ox Baker for a lot of those guys and girls down in NXT. Is there anybody else that sticks out to you? I know Nikita Lyons is a lot of people talk about. We know Toxic Attraction still down there. Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade. They still have their feud going on. Is there anybody else?
Let's not forget about Duke Hudson. Duke Hudson is going to be a huge superstar. He's been literally cutting his teeth down in NXT, and that may be something that he needed more so than anything. You could have said maybe he should, been moved up to the main roster. But I think the growth of Hudson's since the beginning to now is a totally different dude. So I'm gonna have my eye pretty much on all these guys, man. And like I say, for me, it's not about going out and being a commentator and talking about, the up and overs and the dips and the doodles. No. It's about the X's and the O's.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that NXT would benefit if they had more main roster, quote unquote, main roster people come down to work matches here and there? Or do you think that it should just be all self-contained within the developmental system?
You know, I like the Apollo cruises being able to go back and do stuff here and there and whatnot, but I do think it should stay a developmental league as far as bringing up, having those guys get a chance to shine. And sometimes it's like I always talk about reality of wrestling and bringing in ex superstars, to come into reality of wrestling. If I brought those guys in to shine over my guys that's there, those guys' confidence level is not going to move up too much. But if I can bring someone in like a Dolph Ziggler that can go in there and be a player coach, and teach at the same time, yeah, man, that's something that's always going to be wanted. But I said it from the beginning about NXT and what it should be. All right. I said it from the beginning, and this is what I think NXT should remain. Guys, we got to take a quick break. Stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We're calling it In the Ring today, guys. Stick around. We'll be back in a minute.
This is just too much. Wait a second. Wait just a minute. Hey, Gino, there's someone at the door for you. It's the precision tactician. Prince Andrews. What is he doing here? I never thought we'd see Prince again. What do you want to talk about? Pissed off? I don't think that word even comes close to describing what Prince Andrews is right now. A super and a second one. Oh, and a third, the hat trick man. Brian Keith. Brian Keith. Another 18. Cover one, two. He did it.
Here is your winner and the new Reality of Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, Brian Keith.
Brad Gilmore. Dreams do come true. Brian Keith, for his family, for his wife, for his children, has captured the greatest prize in reality wrestling.
Can you dig it, sucker?
You're listening to the Hall of Fame. Here's Booker T and Brad Gilmore.
Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. We just rolling in. I see in the chat there that Veer is back in NXT as well.
Veer Mahan, right? Okay. I didn't know that.
You know what? I think it's a good thing he's back. I think it's a good thing he's back. I thought he was moved up way too quick. I did not think he was ready or prepared for that main roster and the situation that he was getting himself into. He could have been a guy that could have washed out immediately if things didn't work out properly as far as him stepping back to NXT. Seriously.
I think that he also wasn't done any favors by having that long vignette build for him, right? Because I think the vignettes literally went on for months, and it came. See, you're laughing because it became kind of a joke, like Veer is coming, Veer is coming, Veer is coming. It's like
he's already here.
When? When is he gonna be here? And to me, it's just like you see this thing and it's hyped and it's hyped and it's hyped and it's hyped, and there's no way Veer or anybody else who's put in a similar position can live up to that expectation of months of buildup. 3 weeks of buildup, cool. Yeah, we can get behind that. But a month? Or months?
You know what? Now the thing is, you can get behind it. You can get behind it, but all the pieces got to be in place.
Mm-hmm.
Veer, if Veer was a guy who really had a playbook, I'm serious. If he had a playbook that he could go to, this guy could really be a major player on the roster. But you got to put in a whole lot of time as far as trying to create that. And like I say, I just don't think Veer was ready for that. But more importantly, I think when I look at a guy like that, if he's willing to put himself out there, if he's willing to go out there and try, we can figure the rest. We can figure out the other side. You know what I mean?
Right.
We can figure out, what I was just talking about, the X's and the O's, as far as going out there and trying to create something. But I just think he was thrown out there, like you said, after that big buildup, without a real skill set, the skill set that he needed that was going to make him different than anybody on the roster.
Yeah. I agree. So him going back to NXT, maybe rethinking
and working with me.
and working with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe rethinking his tool and I mean rethinking his character and retooling a little bit. Probably not the worst thing in the world for him. Especially right now. You know, it is interesting when the guard was changed over from Vince to Triple H. You did notice a couple of people, you know, not I want to say go by the wayside, but people who were priority to Vince weren't necessarily priority to Triple H, right? And that's just natural. You're not going to see the same thing the other guy sees, right? Like I think of someone like where's Austin Theory been? You know,
You know,
Austin Theory was on every show, Money in the Bank.
let me tell you something. Austin Theory is a kid who has a great upside. He still has the briefcase. So it's always can be something there for Austin Theory. But I'm gonna tell you right now, Austin Theory is not gonna have it handed to him. He's gonna have to work, and more importantly, I say this kid has been putting in the work. He's been doing some great work.
Yeah.
As well as he's known his role. No matter what, whether he's going up or whether he's going down, he's going out there and he's done it to the best of his ability. And just think about it for a second. Triple H was in that same position once upon a time, a guy that had so much potential, and they put him out there with the Warrior, and he did a job in how many seconds?
I mean, it was quick. It was quick at WrestleMania.
Exactly my
Under
point.
a minute, maybe.
Exactly my point. So I see Austin Theory being in no different position than Hunter was at the time when he was coming up. A guy that's going out there and having to cut his teeth and understand what this business really, honestly, and truly is.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, I don't think that he's being written off or anything like that. I'm just saying, like you see priority.
He's not.
You know,
He's not.
Hunter lost in a minute and 39 seconds.
Exactly my point. So
Ultimate Warrior.
that's what I'm saying. So when people say, well, you know, Theory's doing this, like I say, Hunter was a guy who was coming up at that point in time. Theory's a kid that's coming up. But I think it's a disservice to hand it to the kid and not make him work for it and not really make him. John Cena had to work for it.
Yeah. Yeah. From the bottom up, right? I mean,
it wasn't handed to John. John had to work for it. He had to get his ass beat all the time. I mean, we put that dude through torture and hell, but he came through the ashes. And I say John Cena was definitely a guy who was stepped up to the plate and knocked it out of the park, but he was willing to do it.
And John Cena at one point, I mean, he's talked about this publicly. He knew that he was going to be on that massive cut list after WrestleMania. He was like, man, I'm not cutting it. Like nothing I'm doing is working. It's not going to work out for me. I know I'm going to get cut. He said, so I might as well throw everything against the wall. And that's when the idea of him dressing as Vanilla Ice on the Halloween episode of SmackDown came to be. And he started rapping in the backstage. And next thing you know, hey, we got some with this kid. We can do this rap gimmick with him. And then he became a 16-time world champion.
Yeah.
And he put in the work, though. You know?
Like I say, I see Theory being in the same position. The kid, it's nothing but an upside to that kid Theory, man. When I look at Theory and when I talk to him more than anything, the dude, his ears are literally like wide open, man. You can almost see his ears moving. I'm serious because he's taking it all in. I'm serious. So rest assured, that kid's going to be a major superstar in this business.
I will admit I am not up to date on the entire match card for every WrestleMania in history, and I haven't watched WrestleMania 12 in quite some time. And I remember literally 2 of these matches, and some of these I've never heard of. I did not know that the Huckster defeated fought the Nacho Man to a no contest with Billionaire Ted as the special guest referee. That I have no recollection of that at all, like zero.
Well, neither do I, because I wasn't really huge into WWF back then. You know,
Yeah.
I was, you know.
Did you remember when they did the Huckster and the Nacho Man?
What year? I remember that happening, but I don't remember seeing it.
This is the same card that the Iron Man match with Brett and Shawn was on. So this was 96.
Yeah. I was deep in the trenches, man. I had no time to be thinking about WWF pay-per-views back then. Honestly, in 96, I was rolling hard. Sometime 20 plus days a year at that time. So it was a lot of work. And last thing I was thinking about was the Nacho Man.
You know, there's a new show on Vice. Have you seen this new show, Tales from the Territories?
Yeah, I've watched a little bit of it. Yeah.
Did you see the one where they talked about Macho Man in the Waffle House?
No, I haven't seen it.
So there's this story. I think it said it was Macho and his dad were at this Waffle House, and this guy walks in and he's wearing a big cowboy hat, and I guess he worked there. And he starts talking about how he just got married. I just got married. Everybody in the thing, I just got married. And he's like loud. And this is like early in the wee hours of the morning. He's proclaiming this. And so Macho Man sitting at the end of the diner or the counter and looks over at him and he goes, yeah, who gives a, SHIT, right? To this guy. This guy goes nuts and pulls out a knife and tries to attack the Macho Man. So Mach jumps on the table and grabs the first knife that he saw, which was a butter knife. And these two, according to the story, are like almost fencing with these knives, like having a literal knife fight. The cops are called. The guy with the cowboy hat hightails it out of there. And you know Mach. Yeah, I've never met him. I mean, you probably know Mach better than I do. He got very angry and he was hard to control. And so the police were there and he was almost resisting calming down with the cops, so much so that they released the canines on him. And they released the dogs on Macho Man, and Macho Man got bit on the rear by one of the dogs when they were trying to get him to calm down.
Let me tell you something, man. I'm skeptical about a lot of those stories on television. Okay, so I'm not gonna sit here and vouch for it or say it may be true. Like I say, it's gonna be hard for me to take a lot of those stories to be 100% true.
Well, I knew that wrestlers embellished when I heard Hogan almost joined Metallica as the bassist. When he said that, I said, that doesn't sound right to me.
That's what I'm saying, man. These stories, man, these guys will lie in a heartbeat. I'm serious. I don't know. I don't even know. I'm serious. I was watching it the other day, and Jimmy Hart's a good friend of mine. And he was telling me telling the story over there, and I was sitting there, and I was like, man, I don't know if I can believe that. 100%. You know what I mean? And I've been part of the game. Where just say, for instance, and the thing is, I'm sure it's hard to believe, like a lot of these stories, even if I'm telling it. Like, say, for instance, my brother and I were wrestling Manny Fernandez and Hollywood John Tatum or somebody, and we almost started a ride, in the building. We almost, the heels almost got to fight their way out. It sounds like that can't be real. You know what I mean? But that stuff does happen. But a lot of those stories just sound, embellished. So for me, I haven't, gotten totally into Tell the Territories yet. I watched part of one episode.
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, you definitely take.
And the reason I say that is because a lot of the stuff on Dark Side of the Ring is fabricated. A lot of it is just totally embellished to the point to where it's a great story. It sounds really, really good, but a lot of it have a lot of untruth in it. You know what I mean? So I'm not finna get deep down in the weeds.
Well, you know what I mean? That's what they historically say, right? Don't allow the truth to get in the way of a good story.
Exactly. I went fishing last week. Hey, stick around, guys. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. We just chopping it up here inside the Hall of Fame, guys. Getting your champagne wishes, caviar dreams. I want to let you know Saturday. I don't know if I told you. I don't think I told you, but I was sitting in eating and catering, right? And I had a nice steak and a salad, and it was good too. It was some nice tenderloin, and I was like, man, who they brought in for catering this week? So I'm sitting there and I'm watching on my phone some of the stuff that happened with Draymond Green, right? And it was just some of the guys that was talking about it. So I'm sitting there and I'm cutting my steak and I'm eating, and I'm listening. I got my earbuds on and I'm sitting there listening, what's going on and eating. I'm totally deep into it. And I hear somebody talking and I take my earbud off and I look to the side and it's Daniel Cormier. He's been filming me for like about a minute or so. He's telling me, see there, I could have got you. I could have got you. I couldn't do nothing but start laughing. But me and DC definitely had a chance to, chop it up on Saturday. Cool dude too, man. I must say, man, cool dude, DC. And I was happy, we finally got a chance to. And the thing is, I was planning on doing the same thing to him. I swear to God, I was gonna catch him slipping, stand behind him for a moment and then let him know I could have got him. And he got me first with it, man. I swear I couldn't believe it, man. I got like that. But yeah, man, cool dude, man.
Yeah. The pay-per-view went down over the weekend, right on Saturday from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Extreme Rules. And I got to say, Buck, it was another really good card. I mean, from top to bottom, there's a couple things that weren't as good as others, but overall, I thought that was a really great show. And it was capped off by the reveal of the White Rabbit. We finally figured out what the White Rabbit was, and it was indeed what many people thought. Bray Wyatt made his return to the WWE. What'd you think of the show Saturday, Buck?
You heard the crowd. That tells it all, man. That tells it all right there. I mean, WWE is heating up, man. If you can't feel it, I tell you, my sister, Kathy, she liked my sister. She said, "Give me some tickets for the show," and I was like, "Yeah, no problem. I'll be able to get you some tickets for the show." And I called my boy. He said, "Man, we ain't got nothing but the bowl." Okay, and you know what that means. And I was like, man, whatever I can get. It was that I looked around, man, just at the kickoff show, right before the show started. I just like Taker told me, back in the day, just take it all in. I stopped there for a second. I just looked around that arena. And I thought, wow, son of a gun was packed out, top to bottom. It was stuffed. Great house. You could tell the fans were totally engaged. So I feel it, man. It's just like the Karrion Cross stuff that he's doing with Drew McIntyre. Just like the Brawling Brute stuff that they're doing with Imperium. That stuff for me, that's what wrestling is. It's raw, it's gritty, it's not as clean as you see a lot of these matches where you guys doing some of the most spectacular moves we've ever seen in our lives. These guys are just going out there and it's just like a fight. I can dig that. I can get that, and the fight gets real deep. For lack of a better word, for me, that's what I'm looking for in professional wrestling. I could buy that all day.
The opening match, which was that 6-man that you're referring to, the Brawling Brutes and Imperium, if we do not get a Gunter Sheamus one-on-one match at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title, I mean, it's going to be. That is what I want to see more than anything. Sheamus has had a career renaissance this year. He went from kind of just on the show, honestly, to one of the can't miss matches of every show that he's on. And that's not to say that he never was that guy, but it just depends on, where you fall in the card sometimes and what they got for you. And right now he's firing on all cylinders, and him and Gunter, they have that, that soulmate chemistry. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're just meant to wrestle this guy. Because y'all know how to, and it's the European in them, I'm assuming, but God, they can go out there and put on a show. And you heard the crowd when it was just them two standing in the ring and they were just looking at each other, doing nothing.
bro.
just looking at each
I
other.
mean, just the intro on Friday night, okay,
Yeah.
at SmackDown when they was doing the face off, when they were doing the championship, announcement, for him, and just Sheamus standing on one side, Gunther standing on the other side, bro. It looked real. You could just look at both of them eyes and say, man, it's finna be. It's like it's as real as it possibly can get for me when I watch those guys go out and perform. I'm serious. It's like I say, going back to Karrion Kross, and what he's brought to the table lately. Drew McIntyre has been a guy who needed something, and this is it. Of course, he's always going to be in that title picture, but this dude, Karrion Kross, since he's been back, this dude is a monster. I mean, this dude is big. He's so big, man. I mean, he's bigger than he was before when he was here. And I tell you now, when I watch this guy, I go, man, this is a throwback to what wrestling used to be for me. I'm not looking for the moves. I'm just looking for somebody to bring the pain. I'm looking for a good fight. And right now, we getting it. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, we see that we have a super chat here talking about the show Extreme Rules. Let's see what R. London has to say. He said, call me crazy, but Liv and Ronda had the worst match of the night. Probably one of the worst matches of the year so far. Well, I wouldn't go that far as to say that the last part, it wasn't the strongest of the night, but
Well, I'm
So-
gonna tell you right now, you're not gonna get a Matt Classic out of Ronda Rousey and Liv Morgan. They're gonna go out there and they're gonna do what they know. And they're gonna try to entertain you as much as they possibly can. You go back to the last match that Liv and Ronda had, and you remember the finish. It was a finish that I could buy. Maybe you couldn't, but it was a finish that I could buy. Being Ronda Rousey being out for a while, coming back inside the square circle, almost forgetting that she's in the square circle, and almost pinned herself in that match, knowing that I had that armbar locked in and she wasn't going anywhere. She was going to tap. From a mentality, if you're in the octagon, you're not thinking about it if your shoulders against the mat. So I could buy. You may not have been able to buy that finish, but I was. You know what I mean? And that was as much as they could get out of that match. Between those two. So I wasn't looking for this match to be that much better, per se, than that match. Then again, I'm gonna have to go back and check it out because I was, somewhere and I didn't get a chance to see all that match.
Yeah, well, the weird thing was, with Liv, after she won everyone wanted to see her win the title. She wins the title, and then everyone's mad that she won the title. It's the classic wrestling fan thing. And I'm a wrestling fan just like everybody else who's listening or watching this show. But I remember Sean Waltman had the greatest quote of all time where he said, you could give wrestling fans $1 million and they'd be mad that it wasn't in ones. Right. And to me, that's an example of Liv Morgan. Is everyone wanted her to be the champion. As soon as she's a champion, well, she didn't win it the way that we wanted her to win it. And then they kind of turned on her. They did. I mean, there was times where they booed her. Yeah. And then now it looks like they're going to lean into that and maybe, make her heel. But
that's just the way. Sometimes fans think they want something just because. I mean, Liv Morgan, did she deserve? It was, did she deserve a push? Yeah. You know what I mean. And that's one of these things where we was talking about it. I don't know, a year or so ago. Such and such, deserves a chance, and then that person get a chance, and then the fans go, nah, well, this is not maybe what we really want to see. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, Liv Morgan made the best of her time, in the sun. Okay. Title going to come back around to her again. Maybe not, you know what I mean? But Liv Morgan, now she's a player. We can use her and we can capitalize off this. And that's what I look for in stars. And what I mean by that is I think Liv Morgan needed that title to put her up another notch.
Yeah, it got her to, like you said, that established level, like the made man kind of thing.
That is. I mean, I didn't have to say it. You said it for me, but to become a made man, they got to make you, and everybody sitting, in the locker room, they're waiting on that chance to get a rub, to be able to walk out of that curtain and to be able to be called former WWE Women's Champion. That means a lot. You know what I mean? You could parlay that success into a little bit more. It's going to be up to you. It's going to be up to Liv what she do from here on out. And that's coming out there and performing at the highest levels. And there again, you got to have a playbook to do that. You got to have some knowledge, will, and understanding and know-how to be able to go out there and pull. Seriously. So we'll see exactly where she goes from here.
Yeah, and as far as the match itself, I mean, like again, I didn't think it, like you said, there's only so much that I was even expecting out of the match, and that's not saying that neither one of those women are capable, but it was a women's championship match on a card too, where you had an I Quit match with Edge and Finn Balor. You had a fight pit match. You had a strap match. You had another women's match that was a little ladder match. I mean, it's just there's so much on that card. And I know theirs was an Extreme Rules. You got a table spot and a couple other things, but to me, there's that's the thing about these Extreme Rules shows is you can get lost in the shuffle because there's so much happening.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Hey, we got to take one more break. Stick around, guys. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute.
My name is Dan Miller, and I'm trained to be a professional wrestler here at Reality of Wrestling. Professional wrestling has been part of my life for as long as I can remember. Growing up, I would have the toys, I would have matches with stuffed animals, I had a little paper championship. I always had that voice in the back of my head saying, can you do this? Can you really be a pro wrestler? And one day that voice got so loud, I just had to know. So I did my research, and I found that Reality of Wrestling is the best training ground in the whole country. You could sit down and turn on the TV every night of the week to watch pro wrestling, and you'll see someone who got their start in this ring. Reality of Wrestling teaches you everything you need to know about the business, from putting together the ring to putting together a TV show. This is a place where you can come and work on your fundamentals, work on your body, work on your interview skills. This is a one-stop shop for everything pro wrestling. If you have that voice in the back of your head, now is the time to find out if you have what it takes here at Reality of Wrestling.
Can you dig it, sucker? Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame. We just sitting there chatting, talking about what's going on in the world of sports and entertainment and professional wrestling.
We are.
Yeah, seriously. I see we got a couple more super chats. So what you got?
We do, but before we move forward, this literally just was posted during that minute and a half break we just had, minute 23-second break.
Yeah.
This was just posted on his Twitter, and I'd be remiss if we did not share this with our audience here right now live for everybody in the world to see. This came to us from the great folks of Twitter, more specifically at DC MMA, who said, my boy Dunn got so comfortable, he never knew when I was going to show up. Great to see my man Booker T in Philadelphia. And if we can, let's just take a look at the actual video that was discussed here. There's Booker enjoying his steak and salad.
You know you're supposed to watch your back. You over here comfortable, you let me roll right up on you. He don't let me roll right up on him. You know
and you got rolled right up on
back,
by Daniel Cormier.
You gotta watch.
Look at that. So for people who are listening, you can see the video on our YouTube channel, but that is what happened.
Oh my God, man. He got me. He got me good.
He got you real good. I'm surprised that you let somebody come up on you like that.
The steak was good.
Like, I'm actually a little shocked.
The steak was good, man. Like I said, I don't know who he brought in for the paper, but the steak was good. They had some chicken too, dog. The chicken was real good too. Lemon, honey lemon chicken. Oh my God, it was good. I'm saying, and he caught me getting caught up. Let's just say that.
He caught you getting caught up. Well, hey, guess what? Brooklyn Bryan has a super chat for us. He said, the Boogeyman tweeted, "Welcome back, Bray. Coming to get you."
Hey, man, that might be one I could sign up for, the Boogeyman versus Bray Wyatt, WrestleMania,
They had a little moment at the Royal Rumble a few years ago, if memory serves me correct. Yeah. What do you want to see from Bray Wyatt this run?
I don't know. I'm looking to see a little bit of a different Bray Wyatt than the Bray Wyatt that was, previously in the WWE, just because, I loved, a lot of the backstage segments, the interview segments. I always was captivating and made me feel a certain way when I watched Bray Wyatt do his work. But then some of this stuff kind of made me feel, like it wasn't the wrestling that I really wanted to see. I thought Bray Wyatt could really do both, be that storyteller, and be able to draw you in just by the way he speak to you. But when he go out in the ring, his performance, his in-ring performance, steps up to that matches, that same intensity. So that's what I'm going to be looking for out of this Bray Wyatt, opposed to the smoke and mirrors and the magic tricks and whatnot. So I think that was a Bray Wyatt of the past. I could be wrong, but I think we're going to see a little bit of a different Bray Wyatt.
Well, I think there just needs to be, definitely a balance. I heard Seth Rollins talking, and Seth Rollins said that he goes, if you go look at that Fiend run that Bray Wyatt had, nobody went into a program with Bray and came out of it better. Which is saying something, because a lot of it was the mysticism and trying to keep that character alive, and also it was a hard thing to book. Honestly,
yeah, it really
was a very difficult thing to book.
And then it was really hard to beat him too.
Right.
Because when you beat him, you go, man, how can he lose? It's Bray Wyatt. You know what I mean? He's the Fiend. And so it was really hard. Like I say, the Bray Wyatt character for me is the character that I would be really, really trying to, lean into, just because that character, it's got legs. It's got legs. It could go forever. You know what I mean? Just like, Mick Foley could go forever. You know what I mean? But when you try to make it too mystical and too magical to where there's no way he should lose, because he's not real. So that's what made the Undertaker work. You know what I mean? He was the Undertaker, but he was still beatable. He was still a guy that could go out and his shoulders could get pinned to the match in certain situation. And we never felt that way with Bray Wyatt.
No, and
actually, not the Fiend. We never felt
not the Fiend. Yeah, Bray Wyatt different. The Fiend, not so much. And when you go, even Undertaker, they had to eventually give him a weakness right in the early goings. That's when they got the urn. And if you got the urn, he would be weak, and you found a way to beat him. But it felt the same way as the Fiend. It was like, I remember the match that he had with Seth Rollins in the Hell in a Cell, the infamous Hell in a Cell match that they had, where I think Seth had to bury him in a bunch of chairs and hit him a bunch of times. I mean, it was overdone. And so I think if he's more of that Louisiana cult leader, like he was before, like the swamp cult leader.
Yeah,
then
that character works. That character works. It got legs. You can go all over with that character right there, and I don't think you ever lose me from a realistic perspective. That's what I think we kind of like lost with Bray Wyatt when the Fiend character came along, because how can you beat the Fiend?
You can't.
And then when the Fiend does get beat, how did the Fiend get beat?
Right, and it kind of kills the magic of him. So he can't lose, but he can't win all the time either. And I think, and that original Bray character was more along the line, less Undertaker, more Jake Roberts. Do you know what I mean? Where Jake had that element about him that he talked differently than everybody else. He'd cut the promos and he'd talk about, the Garden of Eden and Damien and the snake and this, that, and the other. And it had that way of drawing you in. And then he went out in the ring. Boy, did Jake Roberts come to play when he was in the squared circle.
But it was never a day that you didn't think Jake couldn't get beat if he was working the right opponent.
Right. 100%. 100%. So more Jake, less Kane, maybe this run from Bray.
Yeah, me personally, yeah.
Brett, says, with Seth Rollins being a great storyteller, do you think it would have hurt either one if the finish was flipped? Of course, Matt Riddle won the Fight Pit match with your boy DC and Seth Rollins on Saturday. I want to say before you answer that, the Fight Pit visual on television looks great. It's an awesome looking structure on television. I don't know what it looked like in the building, but from a TV presentation, it did make it have a fight feel to it. But go ahead and we can answer Brett's question. Do you think Seth should have won that match instead of Matt?
No, I look at matches, and a little bit different. And my question would be, who needed that win most? And did Seth Rollins need that win more so than Matt Riddle? I don't think so. I think Riddle needed that win because
I agree.
Riddle is a guy that's being put on a trajectory where I see big plans for Riddle in the future. You know, I see Riddle. You know, perhaps I said it myself that I don't see a guy with bare feet winning the world title, but Riddle has been a guy that's changed my mind. You know what I mean? As far as he goes out and he performs, he leaves it in the ring. You know, he's not the greatest worker in the world or anything like that, but he's nowhere near the worst. The guy's a performer, and he makes the fans feel a certain way when he's out there doing his stuff. So my thing is, Riddle needed that win so much more than Seth Rollins, especially in the fight pit.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, and you can't have a guy who it's his signature match. He has the MMA background, and he's the baby face coming off of an injury angle to Seth Rollins, right? That took him off of SummerSlam. There's no way he can lose that match.
Yeah.
You kill him dead. You kill him dead. So yeah, it would have definitely hurt if the stipulation was flipped.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
That's just my opinion.
Did you get to see, because I know on pay-per-view days you're all over the place. Did you get to see Edge and Finn Balor? Because they had the match of the night.
I didn't. How was that match?
It was phenomenal. It was so well done.
I know Finn Balor won the match.
Yeah.
And I know my prediction is probably going to come true that, that was perhaps the last time we ever see Edge inside the middle of the square circle ever again.
I will say, if it is, because I heard you say that on this show, and then you said it, of course, on the kickoff show as well. If that is the truth, this was a hell of a way to go out because they had the best match on the show. They went like 30, 35 minutes maybe, but it didn't feel like 30 or 35 minutes. And that's the best compliment I could give is you were engaged. You were enthralled by the story. You had Ray, you had Beth Phoenix, you had the whole Judgment Day. And damn it, Book, I hate when I have to admit when you're right. But you were right about the Judgment Day. When they took Edge out of the Judgment Day, I said, oh, you just killed this thing off. It's dead and buried. And now the Judgment Day is one of the most must-see acts on the whole show. Don't laugh. It's true.
No, I'm not laughing.
They've gotten themselves over.
Bro, I said, this might be what Finn Balor need. Damian Priest, having Edge in there. I don't think it really did a service to the real angle because we all know who Edge is. That's not right. Edge we knew Edge was playing the ultimate role. Okay, and you could feel it, but with Edge out and Edge trying to fight, against what he has built, it definitely made you feel a certain way, as well as Damian Priest have a role. Dominic, come on. Dominic's playing a hell of a role.
He's doing great.
Doing a hell of a job.
Rhea Ripley.
The Rip is definitely doing a hell of a job. So my thing is, I like the Judgment Day, and I think it's going to be around for quite some time.
You know what? When you're right, you're right, Book. When you're right, you're right. We only have a couple minutes or seconds left, really.
Call like I see it.
So Breland says, I'm a married man, but Rosa Mendez is hotter than a Mexican plate lunch, dog. And he said, hopefully I can catch some more quotes from Book.
Better watch yourself, man. Charmel be listening to the show, so you got to be careful. You know what I mean? But I totally get it, man. Totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. Well, hey, Book, I think that does it for us on this episode. I know you got to go get ready. You got to fly to Orlando, right?
Yeah. I got to get out of here. I got a 6:30 to Orlando. Get in about 9 or something like that. Get ready for the show tomorrow. To do a little bit of prep. Try to figure out who. I saw somebody said, not to mention the Creed brothers. Those are some guys you need to be thinking about in NXT. I ran into one of those guys. Actually, one of those guys one of DC's boys, I guess trained under DC. So yeah, I will be definitely taking a look into what the Creed brothers is all about. Definitely some big guys. But I'm getting out of here in a bit, man. But it's been awesome. It's been awesome hanging out with you guys for a minute. Champagne wishes, caviar dreams, guys. That's what it's all about. Bradley, as always, appreciate you for getting all the hard work done. But right now, guys, we'll see y'all in a couple of days. Right now, we out of here. Peace.